Hey everyone, and welcome to Making Sales Social Live. I'm Bob Woods. I'm along with Bryn Tillman. Bryn, how you doing today?
I'm good, Bob. Excited to be here with you. I'm in my
Uh,
new home office. So anyone that's watching visually, not on just on the podcast, it's my new home office. This is not a background, it's a real place.
it looks really, really nice, and hopefully we've got some people who can see that. And we're gonna go plow on here with LinkedIn and centers of influence.
Welcome to Making Sales Social Live, as we share LinkedIn and social selling training, strategies, and tips that will have an immediate impact on your business. Join Bill McCormick, Bryn Tillman, and me, Bob Woods, every week. Making Sales Social Live. This is the recorded version of our weekly Making Sales Social Live show.
Most of the time, we always talk about prospecting, and obviously that's important. But there's a lot more that we, as salespeople and sales professionals and marketing and everything else, that we can do with LinkedIn that doesn't necessarily have to do directly with sales. And one of those is finding those centers of influence and then utilizing them in a cooperative way. So we're helping them as much as they're helping us. And that's ideally what you want to do with it, so that, the proverbial all ships rise in a tide. And that's what we're always about as well. So the first way we're going to talk about is finding networking partners. So these are more than likely people you already have in your network. And hopefully you know them, or at least recognize their names.
Well, let's talk about that.
Start that, and let's talk about the process of exactly how to do that. Bryn.
Yeah, no, I love this. So, we have a lot of networking partners and centers of influence that are in our network that we've been ignoring, right? And I think the first thing we have to do is to figure out who else is our client buying from that is not a competitor. So that's the first thing we want to do. So if you're a financial advisor, it might be a CPA. And so if you've identified who these great referral partners are, people that are selling into your prospect, we need to identify them. So there's two ways that we recommend you identifying who's already in your network. And then I'm going to talk about one of my favorite ways, which is how to add new ones to your network at a high level of credibility. So the first one is, who are we connected to that we're ignoring? So export your connections. You have the ability to export your connections into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you can search by title. So in an Excel spreadsheet, you can search all CPAs, or even organize and filter all CPAs, and they'll all come up at the top. And so you can then take inventory. The other way is to do a search on LinkedIn if you click on the search bar, hit enter, all filters, in title, there's CPA, and you could do first degree connection. So you could identify those CPAs. That's how we find those centers of influence that's already in our network. The other one, which I think is really important, because a lot of people say, I just don't have that many in my network. So go to your clients and say, hey, Mr. Client, I'm, looking to meet really credible CPAs in the area. The opportunities for me to refer CPAs into other folks as I'm out and about. And I'm wondering, do you like your CPA? They go, I love her. She's amazing. I love my CPA. That's great. Would you be open to me reaching out and introducing myself? And we can start to build rapport. Now, why I love this, Bob, is because what happens is, number one, that CPA is going to take your call. You share a client. There is no way they're going to ghost you, because that's going to come back to them, number one. Number two, you can feel good referring them because they already came in at this really high level of credibility from your client. So if you refer them to someone else, you say, my client works with her and she loves her. Great. Yeah. And number three, they're comfortable referring you for the same reason.
Exactly.
So that's really, what do you say if they go, you know what, I'm really not a big fan of my CPA?
Then, hopefully you'll have a couple of those other general categories in front of you that you can go through. So again, with like a financial professionals. CPA would be a good one. Another potential one would be, let's say, for example, a realtor or a real estate agent. That's another one. And then you can just keep going down that list. I wouldn't make it any more than like 3 or 5, because you don't want to make it sound like you're pumping someone for information. But hopefully within one of those categories, you will find someone who your client can recommend at that point. Plus, the other reason why I really like this actually steps away just a little bit from the original intended purpose. It gives you another potential touch point with the client, and also it tells the client that you, as a salesperson, think that that they are important to you, and that you trust their opinions on things as well.
I love that. I have a different approach when
Sure.
someone says to me, and I like that. When someone says, I'm not a big fan of my CPA, at that point, I will actually say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I happen to be connected to a few other CPAs that my other clients have referred. I'd be really happy to introduce you if you're open. And so now you have an opportunity to bring value to the other CPAs that you've been networking with. So
you can work all that together too. Absolutely. So
fabulous. Yeah, I love
that's
that.
why you have two people with two opinions that more often than not are very complementary to one another.
Absolutely. No, I love that, because I mean, just extra value. So I love it. I love it. So our friend Kellen says, hi, Bryn. Hi, Kellen. Kellen does. She has a company called Cards That Wow, and she does our thank you cards, and they're amazing. I just thought I'd give her a little shout out on our little podcast here.
Speaking of,
so what's the second one there, Bob?
Second one has to do around with thought leaders.
So building relationships with thought leaders on LinkedIn, I think, is critical. One of the things you can do, first of all, you have to figure out who are the thought leaders in your industry that are attracting your ideal buyers. One of the things we can do is we can end up, engaging with influencers, but they're not necessarily influencing the people that we want to engage. So that's a big deal, right? So one of the things I would recommend is go listen to podcasts. We use listennotes.com to find podcasts on certain topics, and then go find them on LinkedIn, because they're probably there, right? So there's probably some opportunity to engage with them there. Look at bloggers or people that have just great content out there. And there's a couple things. So engaging with the influencer is a big deal. I'm going to tell you a quick little story that happened that got me in social media today. I hope I said the right one. They were engaging, and they had a poll, and I answered the poll, and it was around LinkedIn and who's viewed your profile. And in comments, I responded with our templates, what we say if someone views our profile, what we say in response. So I put it in a comment. I got picked up by Social Media Today. They quoted me in Social Media Today, and I ended up getting over 100 connection requests with people based on that. So they, as a company, they're that influencer. So you can do that. You can find brands, and if you engage appropriately, you can find publications. There's a lot of company pages and brands that are engaging, that are influencers just like people, right? So you can start to engage and get some value there, but don't stop there. You can engage with the commenters. Bob, we often talk about this, right? As it's like the influencer is the keynote, and all the people that are commenting are the people in the audience, right? So when you're sitting in the audience waiting for Brene Brown to come out on stage, you're like, oh, what else have you listened to? Did you read that book? Did you hear on this podcast? Well, we can do that to start conversations with commenters on influencers. So Bob Woods has something out there, and I want to engage with Bob. And I might say, hey, someone else comments, and that I like their comment. I reach out and connect and say, hey, Dave, I see that we're both fans of Bob Woods. By chance, have you heard the podcast he was on X, Y, and Z? I'd be happy to send a link, right? And we start a conversation around the influencer. And it's a great way for us to network and build connections there.
Exactly. And if you're wondering, like another good way, especially on LinkedIn, to find influencers is to search hashtags.
Ooh.
So hopefully the hashtags, the influencer or influencers will be using the hashtags that you're interested in. And, if nothing else, when you search that hashtag, if the right ones are within that hashtag, hopefully the people that you would want to speak to are either following or just searching for that hashtag as well. And that's just a good way to potentially shorten that search. Now, all of that, of course, depends on if they use the right hashtags, if they use hashtags and stuff like that. But that's a potential good way to get in front of not only those influencers, but the people who are reading them as well. So almost think of a hashtag like the title of a speech at one of those conferences that Brent talked about. That hashtag is like the title that should be bringing the people in that you want to talk to.
Great tip. Great tip. Is that it? Do we have another one?
We have finding allies as number 3. We kind of combine that with number 1, but there are general networking partners that can maybe point you to things. Finding allies, if you've ever been in like a BNI type of situation, it's similar to that. Now, obviously, it's not just one group of people like BNI specifically who are just dealing with each other, but you can take that overall mindset into finding allies that you could potentially refer business back and forth with one another as well.
I love that. And we have quite a few. So we have some sales trainers that we refer all the time. We have some website builders. We have content developers. So we have those and we do refer business back and forth all the time. So I absolutely love that.
Absolutely.
Well, I see that we are coming up on time here, Bob.
I know, that's just amazing. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you everyone for joining us, whether you joined us live on via video and audio on LinkedIn Live, or if you're listening to us via the podcast. If you are catching this on podcast, be sure to subscribe so that you can not only see our stuff in the past, but stuff that's coming up in the future. And if your platform has one of those follow things, to go ahead and click on that so that you're alerted to it. So with that, Bren, always great to speak with you and download your knowledge as well.
Oh, I love it. And guys, when you're out and about, don't forget to make your sales social.
Bye, everybody.
Don't miss an episode. Visit socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Leave a review down below. Tell us what you think, what you learned, and what you want to hear from us next. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.